All right, we are recording. As I said, I am Sarah Brown. I am the Educator Recognition Coordinator for the Department of Tennessee, and I work on the Educator Effectiveness team. I'm sure you have seen the Best for All squares on other slide decks. We are working within the educators one. So today what we're going to do, we are going to work through just an overview of the Teacher of the Year process, some of the benefits of participation in the program, the overview of the selection of the process. We do have with us our current Tennessee Teacher of the Year, Miss Missy Testerman, and you will get an opportunity to talk to her for a little bit. I'm hoping Miss Melissa Collins or Dr. Melissa Collins will be hopping on soon. But I haven't heard the confirmation today, but hopefully she'll be with us. And then we'll have an open Q&A session at the end. Some program goals. The goal of the Tennessee Teacher of the Year program is to recognize and celebrate the wealth of excellent teachers that exist across the state. We applaud teachers who devote their professional lives to enriching the lives of Tennessee students and who demonstrate exceptional gains in student achievement. This webinar will provide an overview of the Teacher of the Year selection process and benefits of participation. Your learning objectives for this one is following the completion of this training, learners will be able to identify the benefits of participating in the Tennessee Teacher of the Year program and understand the phases of selection for the Teacher of the Year program. Just some norms as we go through the process. Please remain on mute throughout the session until asked to unmute and share. And if you have any questions or comments throughout the presentation, please put them in the chat. With that, in the chat, could you please answer the question? What's one thing you hope to gain from this session? See some information about the next steps, a better understanding of the protocol, tips for application, understanding the process. Excellent. It looks like the process seems to be a common answer. Okay. So while the application process requires some time and attention to detail, there are many benefits to participating in the Tennessee Teacher of the Year process. At the local level, you will be recognized and celebrated by colleagues and leaders within your school, district, and community for the hard work and passion you bring to Tennessee students each and every day. In some communities, school and district Teacher of the Year winners even receive recognition and awards underwritten by local sources. If you're named as one of the 9 region level finalists, you will have the opportunity to serve on the Tennessee Teacher Advisory Council, a group of educators from across the state who utilize their expertise and experience to inform the department's programs and initiatives. Additionally, all 9 finalists are recognized and honored at the annual Educators of Excellence Banquet, which is held here in Nashville, Tennessee. If you're named as the Tennessee Teacher of the Year, you will then have the opportunity to represent Tennessee in the National Teacher of the Year program, which includes a year of all expenses paid travel and professional development opportunities with state teachers of the year from across the country. The Teachers of the Year are selected competitively through 5 cycles: the school, district, region, grand division, and state in 3 grade bands: pre-K and elementary, middle, and high school. This has changed since last year. Last year, it was a K through 4, 5, 8, and then 9, 12. We did adapt this year to just a more broad pre-K and elementary, middle, and high school. To participate in the Tennessee Teacher of the Year process, you first need to be selected as your school and/or district Teacher of the Year representative, which each of you have been. Each school and district selects their Teacher of the Year representatives through a unique process. If you're interested in learning more about your local process, please contact your principal or district instructional supervisor. Each district is then eligible to nominate 3 educators to participate in the region level selection process, with 1 educator representing each of the 3 grade bands, pre-K and elementary, middle, and high. District nominations were due on December 1st. All right, back to the chat. So please answer in the chat a true or false. You must be nominated at the district level to submit a state level application. All right, good job. True. Yes. You must be nominated at the district level to submit a state application. All right, so after you've been nominated at the district level, you then must complete part 1 of the application by February 4th, 2024 to continue to the region level selection process. You can find the part 1 application on the Tennessee Teacher of the Year website, as well as in the direct email sent to you by me, the Tennessee Teacher of the Year coordinator. The part 1 application contains basic information about yourself and your school, 3 written response questions, and an optional opportunity to submit up to 3 pages of supporting documentation. After all applications are submitted by April 1st, regional scoring committees will identify 1 region level semifinalist in each of the 3 grade bands for each of the 9 regions, for a total of 27 region level semifinalists across the state. All region level applicants will then be notified of their application decision by April 1st. All right. So if you are selected as a region level semifinalist, the Tennessee Teacher of the Year coordinator will provide the part 2 application to you via email April 1st. So part 2 applications must then be submitted by May 12th. The part 2 application will contain 2 new written response questions, an opportunity to submit additional supporting document, a professional resume, 3 letters of recommendation, a professional biography, and this is a new addition this year, is a video response, which will then be covered. We'll talk about that in a later webinar. But then also a professional headshot. The entire part 2 application will be scored by a statewide scoring committee who will identify 1 finalist in each region of the state for a total of 9 region level finalists. All applicants will be notified of their application decision by June 1st, 2024. Or June 2nd, 2024, I'm sorry. Then the 9 region level finalists will complete an interview. The interview will be held virtually via Teams. During that interview, finalists will be asked several questions regarding their professional growth, teaching philosophy, and achievements. Additionally, finalists will be asked to share a 2-minute prepared speech on a topic given in the advance of the interview. A statewide scoring committee will utilize both application and interview components to identify 1 educator to represent each of the East, Middle, and West Grand Divisions, as well as 1 educator to represent the entire state as the Tennessee Teacher of the Year. The Tennessee Teacher of the Year will then move on to represent Tennessee in the National Teacher of the Year program, administered by CCSSO, which is Council for Chief State School Officers. I saw a question in the chat. This is what kinds of supporting documentation can you submit with the application? You can submit things like lesson plans. You can submit photos, but in your photos, please be sure to be mindful of any identifying, anything that could identify personal information. So your school, you want to make sure to block out any school names, any faces of yourself, or probably administration, making sure any kind of photos also go by guidelines administered by media, with media releases, all that stuff. Charts, graphs, projects, letters from students. I would suggest that everything you include in your supporting documentation tie back to your essays to ensure that it has some connection to the scorers, so they can figure out what they're looking at. I wouldn't just like randomly throw in a photo of a project that you hadn't talked about in your written essays. Also being very sure that, or being very aware that of sizing and things of photos. This is not like a high school test with a cheat sheet where you can like shrink it all in. Please make sure that it is standard, size, that is a reasonable size that can be viewed by the scorers. Can't hear anything. Check your, I would check the computer volume, not just like the one you press, but the little icon at the bottom of your screen. Sometimes that is tricky. I realize I can't hear me and I'm telling you how to fix it verbally. Thanks, John. All right. Thanks, Beth. Okay, so the next section that I have is actually an opportunity for Missy Testerman, our current Tennessee Teacher of the Year, to tell you a little bit about the process that she just experienced, as well as a little bit about herself and what she does, and life as the Tennessee Teacher of the Year.
Hi, everyone. I'm glad to be here with you today. I swear to you, it feels like yesterday that I was sitting there where you are, a little bit nervous about what the process would be like and why I was there. I know for sure that all of you are here because you deserve to be here, because all of the things that you do to serve our state students, and I thank you for those things. I have had the absolute best experience as Tennessee's Teacher of the Year. Sarah mentioned getting to serve on the Teacher Advisory Council. We call that TAC for short, because in education we have acronyms for absolutely everything, and we get together at TAC and talk about RTI and all kinds of other acronyms as well. But the opportunity to be on TAC is worth putting all the work in, just because you get to be with so many like-minded educators just like you, who are passionate about our students' achievement, passionate about moving our students forward and improving things in our state. Let's see, advice. My best advice is what I was given last year by the Teacher of the Year in 2022, who was Morgan Rankin out of Johnson City. And Morgan said during the webinar last year, just be yourself. Let your answers reflect you and what you do on a daily basis. Celebrate all of those little things that are really the big things that you do every day. One of the things that Sarah and Martha Moore, who also works in Sarah's department, when they worked with me on my national application, they kept saying, why are you saying we? It's okay just to say I, because I think as teachers, we're ingrained to like share this love and share the the accolades and so forth, but they were like, were there really other people or was it just you? Now, obviously, don't say that it was you if it wasn't just you, but if it was you, it's okay to say, I did this, and this is how things improved for students in my school because I did that. Celebrate all of the things that you do for students every single day. But for me, it's been an absolutely phenomenal experience. My year with CCSSO as Tennessee's Teacher of the Year is just beginning. So Sarah and I are getting ready to take a trip to California next month, and then the fun is on from there. But good luck to each of you, and thank you again for all that you do to serve Tennessee's students.
I can answer this and then Missy can jump on as well. The question is, I know we aren't required to submit documentation, but does it look better to do so as opposed to just explaining? I wouldn't say one way or the other. It adds depth, and it can support what you write. So sort of like, I guess I would say, like, if you just read through a lesson plan and they're like, well, that sounds fine, but then you can actually show, like, this is what I'm talking about. So providing examples, it provides a little depth to what you're trying to explain, if that makes sense. So it can help. It also, it can't hurt you to add it. Missy, did you find any help in the construction of your application by adding or not?
I did. At first, I'll be honest, when I sat here last year, part of me was saying, I'm not doing all of that. But then the reality is, after you've done the work of writing the responses, you do want people to understand what you're talking about. Most importantly, you want to celebrate your students, celebrate what that looked like. I think all of the things that I submitted had to do with my students. They were not photos of me or videos of me. One of the things I remember that I used for that was actually a Flipgrid of my students at our annual wax museum. I, of course, cleared with parents, is it okay if I submit this? And, no names will be used, but your child's face is out there. And they were fine with it. And that was one of the things that I used to back up to explain when I talked about restructuring our curriculum to focus around famous Americans and it being a year-long project, what it looked like and what the culmination of that looked like. So if you don't do anything else, throw in something that celebrates what the end result looks like for your students. For me, it just ended up working that way because I think we all have very similar thoughts as teachers. We want to show what our students can do and what they're able to do and the growth that they've made. So for me, that was a real easy way to gather the extra evidence, was just to use what my students were able to do.
And it doesn't have to be, I joke, I was a high school teacher and I joke that in high school, we don't theme, like we don't, like we don't do the big decorations and all the, like the fun stuff that oftentimes is done in elementary school. It's a little bit, I don't know, more complex to do that. And so sometimes it doesn't seem as flashy. Yes, you can definitely submit writing samples. So things like writing samples, that's an excellent example, are wonderful things to include. It is genuinely used to show depth to your written response. Everyone all of the scores have backgrounds in education, whether they be former awardees or professors or whatever. Everyone is an educator that is scoring your work. So it's not a blind, somebody that doesn't know anything about teaching. So please rest assured you definitely can use your acronyms, use your language that you're comfortable with. Any other questions before we move forward? I would still do as best. Do not use personal identification because we have to redact it, which means that if you put it in there, we've got to go through and black it out. So maybe put like you can put maybe the first letter of your school, or just as neutral as the school or our school. Keep it as neutral as possible. It's just a way to avoid any kind of bias and keep it as neutral, plain as possible. Same thing with students. Obviously there's a bazillion Tristans out there. Like you can use a name, you can make up a name, but probably don't use the actual name of a student. Use the first name or the first, two initial, the initials or something. Any other questions we can help you with on that part? That's fine. She asked, or using the term primary and intermediate suffice. That's fine. Totally fine. Karen, both the essay and the documentation, keeping as much personal identification out as possible. And even if it's easier to, when you're writing or putting it in, to include it and then go back and just sort of black it out yourself, that is fine, or delete it, but trying to avoid as much personal identification as possible. Okay. So the Tennessee Teacher of the Year website is updated mostly, but it does include specific program criteria, which with resources for you for your applications. The Tennessee Teacher of the Year Applicant Series webinar 2 is going to be next week from 3:30 to 4:30, and we'll specifically go over more about part 1 of the application. In April, we will go over part 2. So if you are in the top 27, that one will be available for you to go over part 2 of the application. And as we have changed just a little bit about part 2 of the application, it probably would be a good idea to go just to make sure you have clarification on those updates. If you have tried to look at previous part 2 applications, it's a little bit different. I am holding weekly office hours every Monday, unless I tell you, from 3:30 to 4:30. On the initial email, I put January 15th, not realizing it's a holiday. We don't work. Probably you don't work on that day. I will not be here. But if you have questions, you can email me. I will always email you back. And if I don't email you back, you like you tell your students, nag me. It is totally fine to email me again. It's not going to hurt my feelings. But you're welcome to email me and ask questions. But every Monday, starting January 22nd, 3:30 to 4:30, I'll be here to answer questions. And then after you turn in part 1 of the application, we won't have them until you are provided with part 2 of the application. And then I will continue on until you turn those in. So Mondays. I saw another question. It was, can you submit growth index, etc.? You can actually. You can. Our scorers also signed a non-disclosure clause too. So just make sure that you are excluding personal information. So I would, if you're going to include it, just make sure that you do something to black out names and locations of things. But yes, you can do that. Okay. Another question. If I provided photos of artwork from students, do I need to make sure the names are covered up? I mean, particularly their first name or their last name. I would not, I wouldn't put the whole name unless it's something like as generic as Sarah Brown. Like, how many Sarah Browns are there in the world? That's not going to help anyone identify anything, right? But if you have a student with a very unique name, I would try to make sure that's covered up. All right, so in the chat, as a result of this webinar, what next step will you take to prepare for the Tennessee Teacher of the Year process? So writing the essays, begin working on the application, gathering evidence, supporting documentation, outlining your answers. As an English teacher, I support that. Studying application, attending next week's session. Lovely. Have superior review your responses. Definitely. You are allowed to have other people proofread your answers. You 100% can do that. Again, as an English teacher, I support that choice. Have people proofread for you. It is helpful and get a little feedback on making sure your answers, you actually answer all of the pieces of each question. All right. Well, this concludes our webinar. I'm going to stop recording right now. Thank you so much for coming.